It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Scared, straight.
This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
And were inspired by movies that defined a generation.
We were all pretty bizarre. Some of us are just better at hiding it, that's all.
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Well, we're going, we don't need roads.
I feel the need for speed.
We found our attitude in comedy.
I'm Gumby, damn it.
You see that sign?
No shirt, no shoes,
No dice.
Right. Learn it. Know it. Live it.
And our identity in pop culture.
I want my MTV!
I want my MTV.
I want my MTV!
What you talking about, Willis?
Keep your feet in the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
This is Gen X Men with Bill Rowland and Gary Dollarhide.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
All right, welcome in, everyone. Bill Rowland, Gary Dollarhide. This is episode number 5 of Gen X Men. We've got a lot to explore today, Gary. Some good things coming down on this episode. Trying to find some lost movie props. One in particular, we'll get into that. Also, want to know from you and everybody watching, listening, if there is a movie prop or a TV prop, what they would want to have in their collection at their home, just to remind them of maybe some of their youth, a favorite TV show, favorite movie from your youth, and say, I would love to have that sitting on my shelf. But we will get to all of that. You are inside today, which means it must be getting cold there in the hinterlands of central Maine.
Yes, it is. As we discussed last week, we are in the weather change here. You guys probably haven't experienced it quite as much yet, but everything is dark, dreary, rainy. You know, we had a little bit of sun yesterday, but we are now in that mode here in Maine where it's usually gray skies, damp and cold. So, yep, back inside and will be for the foreseeable future.
I think we should at least do one episode where you have to sit outside in the snow.
I will do that. I have no problems doing that, especially if it is actively snowing. It'd be great.
Yeah. Well, that's what I want.
I will do that.
I'm not going to make you sit outside if it's 15 degrees and there's just like 8 inches of snow on the ground that's been left over since like November. But if we get an active storm or snow while we're taping this, absolutely. For at least a few minutes, I think you should have to go outside and sit in the snow just to give a nice moment of zen for everyone to watch the snowfall.
Yes, and it could happen very soon. I mean, it's not unheard of in this area to have snow before Thanksgiving, so you never know what's going to happen over the next few weeks.
Yeah, the worst part about that is if it does snow, it probably, depending on how much you get, it probably isn't going to melt. It's just going to be there, and then you'll get the snow on top of that, and on top of that, by January, all the snow that you have is going to generally be left over from stuff 2 or 3 weeks ago. Way different than us. And you remember this living here in Virginia. We're not going to have that.
Yeah, no, because I was looking ahead to the schedule, and by mid-November, we're going to start seeing 10-degree nights. Oof. So once that ground starts getting that cold at night and staying frozen, once we get the snow, it's staying. So
it ain't going nowhere. So, all right, let's jump right in to the topic of today. And this is a story I saw a couple months ago. And I thought even then, I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. I can't believe how this happened. And then it kind of resurfaced because they keep bringing it up for good reason. And that is, and I saw this, actually, Huey Lewis had posted something. I think it was on their website, or maybe it was on his Instagram feed. I don't remember exactly where this popped up in my purview again. But I remember reading about it a couple months ago with Michael J. Fox talking about it. Now he's out on his book tour. Future Boy, I think, is the name of his book. So he's doing a book tour now. He's brought it up here recently. So it seems to have gotten a little bit more traction. I don't know that it'll help. But here's what we're talking about, Gary. The main scene, I guess, from the original Back to the Future 1, if you will, when it's a epic scene. He's playing at the Under the Sea dance.
Enchantment Under the Sea, I think, was the prom theme.
That's what it is. Enchantment Under the Sea dance, whatever it was. And do you remember one of the guys from the band when Marty's up there playing? He jumps up and plays with the band. There's a famous thing. He's got the picture of his family that's starting to disappear because he's trying to get his mom and dad together. And then all of a sudden, things are going well, and he pops back up and he starts playing, and then he starts doing the Chuck Berry song. And the famous scene when the guy from the band goes, "Chuck, it's Marvin.
Your cousin Marvin.
Your cousin Marvin. Marvin Berry. You've got to hear this." And he holds the phone out while Michael J. Fox is doing the duck walk and playing the guitar. You would think, because of that scene and how iconic it was, there's no way that guitar went missing. Well, it has. 40 years ago, it's now 40. It's a 40th year anniversary. We talked about this on, I think, our second show that we did, or it might have been the first show. I don't remember. But we talked about how 1985 was like a huge year for movies as far as Gen X. And Back to the Future is the main part of that. They don't know what happened to that guitar. Gibson guitars, Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Huey Lewis, all these people that were involved in the making of that. And obviously Huey Lewis played the school teacher in Back to the Future when Marty's band went to try out for I think the playing at the school dance. He said, "You're just too darn loud." That's Huey Lewis in the movie. So all these people are trying to find this guitar. They had originally borrowed it from Norman's Rare Guitars in Tarzana, California. And now some people, like myself, when I saw that, I said, "Oh, I know about Norman's." There's a great documentary made a couple of years ago that was on, I think, pretty sure Netflix, talking about Norman's Rare Guitars in this place and the guy who owns it, who's now like in his mid-70s. Just a great documentary. If you like music at all, you don't even have to be a guitar player. I don't play, but I love that documentary. It's very interesting to see all the famous people that come in there to get their guitars from Norman. Like when they're looking for stuff, I mean, he's got, like, you think of people who collect like baseball cards and all that. He has got just tons and tons of these famous guitars all over the back room there at Norman's Rare Guitars. But they can't find this one. They rented it from Norman's for the film. Nobody knows what happened to it after they shot the scene. It's missing. So if for some reason you know where it is, they'd like to know what happened to it. It's a fascinating, like, how do you lose a guitar? I would understand if it was just like one of the prop masters maybe say had the guitar, but like, "Oh, I got an old guitar at home we could use," or something like that. You rented it from an actual business. They're expecting it back. How does it disappear?
Well, very easily. Just a little background. In a former life, when I was still working in radio, I worked for a nationally syndicated radio show that was about movies. And so as part of that interaction, there was a gentleman who knew props. He was based in New York City, visited him a couple times when I went up there for business, and learned a little bit about how things were in the movie world, TV world, prior to the mid-90s. Very different world than you would think. So, for instance, they went and rented that guitar because they needed a guitar. They probably wanted to be realistic because there's going to be close-up shots and really want to do a good job. But in terms of, like you said, returning it, who knows? Prop guy kept it. Someone else on set kept it. It's kind of a loose, if you will, organization when you're making a movie, because everything's rented, everything's temporary. You show up, you do it, people have all the stuff, you shoot the shot, boom, you're out. And where things end up after that, there's kind of sometimes no accountability. So probably the simple answer is someone liked the guitar, and like I said, could have been a sound guy, could have been anyone, said, "I'm taking that with me," and it just walks away. Because who are they going to go after? I mean, I guess he could have sued the movie company, but good luck with that over a guitar, depending on what its value was at the time.
I mean, it's a pretty rare guitar when you, I mean, especially now. I mean, it's obviously worth now because it was in the movie, but even back then, I mean, I don't know a lot about guitars, but everything that I've read for this story, a Gibson ES 345, which, by the way, not period correct. That model, from what I've been reading, didn't come out until 58. And of course, Back to the Future was supposed to be 1955, but they didn't care. It looked like an old guitar. Only guitar aficionados are going to be like, wow, that's not really, they shouldn't have had that. It wouldn't be out in 1955. Only those people are going to do it. And we don't like those people. So it doesn't matter. I don't need you to tell me that that's not period correct. Okay, fine. It's not, whatever. But again, if you rented it from Norman's, there's paperwork. There's a cost to this thing. I'm sure it wasn't just a $200 guitar that Norman's Rare Guitars just shrugged their shoulders and went, oh, well. I'm sure they're like, hey, man, what the heck? Where's the guitar? Like, I'm just surprised that some random sound guy or prop guy would just be able to go, I'm taking this Gibson home with me, and nobody asked any questions.
Well, I mean, but here's the funny thing. Again, I've not from the show, but prior to that, some other experiences, I've been on the sets.
Yeah,
and
we all
there's
have,
people coming, people going. The scene is done, the guitar set to the side, and someone had their eye on it, and it ends up in a catering truck that left. I mean, no, seriously. I mean, there was, from what I've seen, been told, especially back in those days, the accountability was limited because the prop guy had been like, yep, we rented it, can't find it, I'll file insurance claim, whatever, and move on, because it's not their stuff. They don't really care. And then there's been other stories where people have rented cars and done other things, get them back not in the perfect condition they were when they rented it to them. It's even happened with property for scenes. So, but that world changed after the 90s. And now, if you follow the stories, all movies, especially the big ones, Disney's, everything's cataloged, everything's kept. It's archived. The studio owns it, keeps it. Why? Because back then, the budgetary concerns. We rent it, we make it, we don't care. We're trying to keep costs low. We just move through it. We're not worried about keeping things. And so, things would walk away and people just go, well, all right, guitar's missing. Okay. He's not going to get it back. Who's he going to call? Me? So, but like I said, I have a feeling someone knew what it was, not necessarily associated maybe with the prop guys, and that thing walked away quietly after the shooting was done for those scenes.
Is there any chance this thing ever resurfaces? Because it's now been, I think, at least 3 or 4, maybe even 5 months since I saw the original story that they've decided, oh, we need to find this. And it kind of coincided with the 40th anniversary. Maybe somebody just now realized that, oh, we don't know whatever happened to that thing. I don't necessarily buy that. I think they knew that it's been missing, and now the 40th anniversary, perfect time to like kind of bring it up and go about it. And Michael J. Fox writes about it in his book and all that kind of thing. But is there any shot? Because this is probably, from the estimates, and I'm not an expert on this, but from what I've been reading, various other stories, and they see people quoted who do this type of stuff, they say it could be a $500,000 guitar because of its place in that epic movie.
Well, the question is, because you saw the articles more than I did, was there a serial number attached to it?
Oh yeah, they know. I mean,
so they know.
They could.
So
the provenance, they would be able to say that's the one that was in the movie. Yes.
So I'm going to assume the person that has it because they like the guitar, and secondarily, I got this from the movie set, and it's on their wall, sitting in a corner somewhere. So until, they pass or they're in need of money, who knows? That's when it's going to come out of hiding, and we'll find out where it ended up, more than likely.
Is it, if you were the person that had it, and I don't think you are, I'm going to guess that you don't have Gibson, whatever, guitar with you. But if you're that person that does, and now all of this is coming out, and everybody's like, where's this been for the last 40 years? Is there some of that, like, well, I'd like to give it back, but everybody's going to think I'm an a-hole for keeping it for 40. Like, I think there's, at some level, they're going to be like, everyone's going to hate me if I give this guitar back now, because they're like, what happened to the guitar? And I've kept it all this time. Do you think that keeps the person from coming forward?
Possibly, because I mean, there's two parts of it. Are they trying to give it back because of the kindness of their heart, or are they going to try to make money? If you're trying to make money, people are going to hate you. They're going to understand. If you're like, maybe I just need to get rid of this, so then you come up with the story of I bought a storage locker, or I knew a guy who said he worked on the movie and he needed $50, so I gave him $50, and it's been in my possession ever since. So I think the story will change depending on who had it and why they had it, and what is their reasoning for getting it back out there. Notoriety, looking for money, who knows?
I know in Huey Lewis's post, he basically said, if you do have it or know somebody does, it would be worth your while to bring it to us. So it sounds like they're willing to pay the person. Like, no one's going to come and arrest them they're just, you could make a lot of money. So again, if you're out there and you have it, it would be cool. It would be cool to have that piece of memorabilia at least out in, again, it would end up in somebody's private collection, I'm sure, or whatever it is, but it would be nice, be kind of cool if we knew where that was, because there, as you said, are a lot of things that have disappeared over the years that will never resurface again. And it's a shame. And there were some things that were saved that you would have thought, why would they have ever thought about getting rid of it? And then somebody had the foresight to say, hey, we should save that. One of the famous ones we're talking about other movies is the Death Star model from the original Star Wars, A New Hope. And I mean, there's cool stories all around Star Wars with how they made the lightsabers, and they were smart enough to keep them movie to movie originally. Well, a lot of times that stuff would have just been tossed.
Yes.
But they were smart enough to do it, but they almost got rid of the Death Star model. And a prop person said, hold on a second. Do you realize what we're going to toss out? The reasoning was, obviously everybody remembers the end of the movie, they blew it up.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't need the Death Star anymore. It was gone. Why would you need the Death Star model? It was gone. They blew it up. We don't need this model anymore. But there was a prop person that was like, we might want to hold on to that. That might be very important. And so they did. Just a great story of somebody having the foresight to be like, maybe we don't toss this aside.
Well, definitely. Going back, talking to the gentleman I knew who was in the prop business, you have to remember, movies are shot 2, 3, not 3, but a couple years sometimes before they were released.
Yeah.
Which means you don't know that movie is going to be iconic. You don't know it's going to be a hit. So it would have taken someone back then to just go, hey, wait a second. This is kind of cool. We should keep it just because we want to, less about, I think this is going to be one of the greatest movies of all time, so I'm going to hold on to a piece of it. A lot of times those things were kept just because someone said, oh, you're going to throw that out? How about I'd like to have that.
Right.
And that's how a lot of things ended up in private hands back then. Again, we're talking about prior to the 90s, because a lot of times things were just thrown away. They were built for TV-scape, movie-scape. And for those of you out there, back then, if you went to your local TV station, because this happened to me as a kid, and you went to the anchor desk on the tour, and you looked at it and said, this thing is styrofoam and weird paint, and what in the world is this? Because what you saw in the studio was not what you saw on TV. It's the camera distorts things, it changes things. So, as for lack of a better word, you could just throw something together and then it would look good on camera. So a lot of things were not built to stand the test of time and exist 30 years from now. And, I know they were talking about the proton packs from Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Yep.
Those things weighed 40, 50 pounds. It was a leaf blower. There was all these things they just put together to make it look great on TV, on the movie. And you were like, wow, that's pretty nifty. But when you saw it live, real, it's like duct tape and plastic and battery operated lights. So anyway,
there's a couple of those that survived and have at auction have gone for like hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is amazing.
Yeah. But so things weren't made to last, right? We're on a budget. Movie budgets were tight. We're just trying to get stuff done. We didn't have CGI. We didn't have all the electronics. So we're just making stuff to get by for this 1 minute scene, 2 minute scene, maybe a couple minutes throughout the whole movie, just get by. And a lot of times things were just discarded because it was just made for that purpose. The movie's done. We don't need it. We don't think there's a sequel. Yeah, get rid of it. And someone, like you said, hey, we should hang on to that. Or, hey, if you're going to throw that away, I'd like to hang that in my apartment in LA just because it looks cool. Right.
Yeah.
So, and they don't do that anymore. So, you know.
Yeah, it is fascinating to think, because you talk about basically we'll take this and, hey, we could use this on the next movie that we're doing. I mean, TV shows, again, it's obvious, I think, if you think about it, but how many of those TV show sets were just recycled over and over again? Think of nearly every single family sitcom. You have the living room and then the staircase right behind you that leads up to the bedrooms. Almost every family sitcom has the same layout where you have the kitchen is off to the one side. As you're looking at the TV, the kitchen is usually to the left. The front door is usually to the right. And the staircase is behind the couch leading up to the bedroom. It's right there. Different
Happy Days.
strokes. Yeah, different strokes. That was the layout. The Cosby Show. That was the layout. Like, you can go up and down all of these different, I think, All in the Family. That was the layout. It was just the easiest way to do it. So they all recycled it. And these TV studios, why build a new one when you've got it right there? Just change out the furniture, maybe what you hang on the walls. Boom, there you go. You've got your set.
And sometimes they didn't change out the furniture. There's stories that some of the lamps on Happy Days were from
Happy
I
Days
Love
is
Lucy.
another one. Yeah.
Right? They would just reuse things. Again, you're talking studio based for TV shows where things aren't moving and on location. So yeah, you just go down to the prop warehouse. I want that lamp, as long as they're period specific. They would kind of look at that.
Right.
And so you might see the same lamp in 5 different TV shows from, Warner Brothers Studios at the time. So again, budgets. What do we do to get by? We just keep it simple. We keep it easy. Reuse things, make things, they're all disposable. Not the case anymore. Everything's custom. And again, part of that change also, not only from an accounting production standpoint, now you're dealing with high definition movies, television, right? So now things have to be perfect. They have to look exactly right, or you'll see the difference on the camera. So when they do spend the time, the effort to make whatever it is, it's going to be perfect, and we're going to hold on to it because we might need it again, and we're not going to spend the money to redo it.
We had talked, leading into this about some of the things, props or vehicles or whatever that you would want from your favorite movie or whatever. Well, and you remember this way better than I do because it happened to a guy in your area where you were growing up down there in the Richmond area, the guy who won MTV's Batmobile contest, and it actually ended up not really being as cool as he probably thought it was.
Oh, absolutely not. At the time, I worked for the Top 40 station in Richmond, Virginia, Q94. And one of the big things at the time was movie premieres. And Batman 1989 was the summer big blockbuster coming out. And just so happens, MTV did a contest. The Batmobile's been stolen.
Steal the Batmobile. Watch MTV all day this Sunday for the MTV Bat Signal. Then call the special 900 number on your screen.
One of you is going to walk away a winner. That's right, a Batmobile. Now, we've removed the engine so you don't go driving around and bust your butt, but it's still one amazing collector's item. And moi will deliver it personally to your door along with a check for $25,000. It's the perfect contest.
I want you to tell all your friends.
So go ahead, steal the Batmobile. MTV's your accomplice. Of course, I wouldn't want the Batman mad at me, but that's your affair. Anyway, if you've got the cojones, we've got the car.
MTV Steal the Batmobile. Watch June 18th to win. This MTV contest sponsored by Warner Brothers and Pepsi.
And the way the contest worked was on a certain Sunday, you were expected to watch all day, and there was this thing where the MTV logo would meld or change into the Batmobile or the Bat symbol, and that was your signal to call. And reports were there was just under 1 million people that called in when it happened, and just so happened a VCU student, he was 23 years old at the time, was the one in a million call, won the Batmobile. So it was presented at the theaters in Richmond the night of the premiere to him. He got the car and $25,000 cash, but the car was a shell. It was one of the secondary cars that they use for filming. So no engine, so you can't drive it around. Not everything worked on it.
Really make money because they had everything trademarked, and they would have to approve if somebody wanted to pay him $200 to bring it to their kid's birthday party, you'd have to get with Warner Brothers and approve it. Is that kind of what we're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, there was legal ramblings on, and I think also there was probably the start of, hey, you're not going to get rich off of it if we're not. So,
right.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. So I remember the story. It's been a while, but he ended up selling it in the early 2000s, but it had been sitting in storage because it got taken out of the Science Museum. There really wasn't anything to do with it. And he finally found a collector that wanted it for a private collection. But it was still kind of neat at the time that, hey, Batmobile from the movie, guy from Richmond, Virginia wins it. We're doing the premiere of Batman with the radio station, Ridge Cinemas. I think it's a Kroger now. And so it was kind of neat to have that happen, in parallel versus just hosting the premiere and, because MTV was there. I can't remember which actor was there. I think anyway, but it was a big to do. So that just kind of made the premiere and everything going on a little bit more special at the time. But I remember it was
Robert Wool. Robert Wool.
Okay.
I just looked it up. Okay. Robert Wool was the actor.
And I'm pretty sure he was the guy in the commercial too for MTV. He wore like the trench coat and the hat, and
yep, he was the
Batmobile's.
Yep.
Yeah. But I remember looking at the Batmobile going, oh, this is it. Because it felt cheap, weird, not, you see it in the movie, it's sleek, it's shiny, it's black.
Yep.
And then when you saw it live, it was like, oh, that's it. That's the shell. Like, you realize the craftsmanship. Yes, there was some to go in to make it, but again, it was designed to just look good on camera for the few minutes that they needed it, and it was not anything special that you would want to drive around in or get too overly excited about.
I've looked up from Richmond Magazine, of all things. Who knew that was a thing? Patrick McLynn was the 23-year-old VCU student who won it in 1989. But here is what was going on with the vehicle. The steering wheel worked, the brakes worked, the dials were in the cockpit, but it didn't have an engine. You couldn't open the hood. The entire body had to be lifted up to work inside of it. It was a prop. You have to think of it as a big go-kart. It was basically on a Chevy Impala chassis is what it was. So, yeah, that's awful. And it ended up, they said the value of it was $60,000. So he had to pay taxes on the $60,000 and the $25,000 that he won. So, yeah, your memory is dead on, because from this thing, it says that they would not allow him to go. He had to sign a strict contract where he agreed not to exhibit the car for money. And as you said, it was at the Science Museum for donations. Somebody stole the shift lever while it was there. So he had a whole bunch of stuff. Hollywood Productions actually wanted to buy the car back from him and made various offers, including a Corvette and $50,000. Why wouldn't you take that? Like, immediately.
Yeah. Trade out. I mean,
yes.
Get the Corvette that you can actually ride around in.
Exactly. He said they got the rights to build the car, Hollywood Productions, obviously, but I think they were pressured by MTV and Viacom to put the car for a contest. Their idea was to take it to car shows, and they hoped whoever would want it would sell it right back to them. I didn't. Said at the time, McLean was offering the car for $125,000 to $330,000. Well, good luck. He ended up not being able to afford the estimated $10,000 insurance premium. So
the insurance. Yeah. I mean, the only reason I knew something, like I said, it happened. I was working at the radio station. He came in, did interviews, and obviously off air and talking around, you'd hear the stories of, this thing is an albatross for this guy because of the taxes and this and that. And yeah, it feels good that you won it, but then the real is you're stuck.
$50,000 in a Corvette in 1989. Take it. Right. What are you doing? I don't feel bad for the guy. He blew it.
Bill, as we know, he is a
He's a-
VCU student.
That's fair.
So
Yeah, that's fair. 20 yeah, you sell that thing. It's as soon as you realize it doesn't have an engine and you can't drive, take it. It's yours. What else are you going to do with it? Nothing, because you can't. You had to sign away that you couldn't make money off of it.
Right.
So,
and it had to be moved on a flatbed. So it wasn't like you could get it, drive it around, pull it out on weekends. Like you see these other guys with their MGs and other, convertibles and fun cars. It was, you were stuck. And like I said, flatbed to move it every time. So what?
Right.
Yeah, I just remember the big story was, in 89, I was 17 years old working at the radio station. And I just remember them, a lot of head shaking, like, yeah, he's going to not do well with this after all. So,
and he didn't. He ended up getting audited by the IRS, according to that Richmond magazine article. I mean, yeah, it did not go well. And he said he eventually sold it enough to cover the taxes and his IRS stuff, but he didn't make a lot of money. Like, no, you should have taken the 50 grand in the Corvette. You'd probably still have the 89 Corvette, because you probably would have held on to that.
Yeah. He got shafted, and this has been talked about many times, just like winning a trip from The Price is Right or any other game show.
Cash every time.
Can't sell it back, but the government still wants to tax you at 50% because you won something, and now you're stuck with the trip you can't sell, and now you've got to come up with half the money in cash to pay back the government. So,
and that's why a lot of these contests, when they're like, you win this and $10,000 to cover the taxes that you're going to have to pay on this vehicle. One. That's what it is. That's why they throw in the 10 grand, but you also have to pay taxes on the 10 grand, because that's part of the winning. So you end up, that 10 grand is gone, and then you get to keep the car or whatever it is that you won. But yeah, it's not great. Everybody thinks, oh, it'd be wonderful to win that. Well, it would be if you have the money to cover the taxes and everything else, but you should immediately be like, I'd rather have the cash.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know from the radio station perspective, when we used to do the whole car giveaways, it was half the time wink, wink, nod, nod, that you could work out a deal with the dealer who provided it and not actually take possession. They'll give you a couple of grand to let you walk away and not have to deal with all the headaches. Now, I mean, some people have the money and can do it, great, but a lot of people didn't. So,
it's easier to just say, yeah, this is a 20, back in the 80s, this is a $20,000 car, but we'll give you 8 to not take the car. It's better for you. It's better for us.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. Speaking of Batmobiles and things like that, there is a gentleman here in the DC area that has a working replica Batmobile that he had made. And I don't know if he's still around doing it. This was years ago. He used to go to like the children's hospitals and stuff like that, dressed up as Batman with the Batmobile. So that was pretty cool. And we have a mutual friend that actually had an A-Team van made so that he could have an A-Team van. Our good friend Dave Chrisman did that. It was built down in Texas and then brought up here, and he wanted to do it just because, again, this was before. I mean, he actually did have kids at the time. As I said, this is when he was young and didn't have kids to worry about everything. But I think his kids were alive, so it wasn't that long ago. But he had an A-Team van for a while, and it was cool. It was fun to go sit. He had like the big captain's chairs in the back, so it was comfortable ride and everything else. But eventually, he ended up just selling it. I think he made a couple bucks off of it. But he used to go, and somehow people would find out about it and be like, "Hey, we're doing an '80s night. Can you just come park your A-Team van outside of our stadium?" Like a lot of minor league ballparks, he did that more than one occasion. He loved it. He loved the attention. Thought it was fun. But if it's not the actual A-Team van, if you go there, you're like, oh, okay, so this guy just spent money to have a paint job and a nice little interior. Like, that's cool, but it's not the A-Team van.
Right. Well, it's in similar down south. You couldn't do it today. It was the General Lee.
Right.
There were so many people that went and found those Dodge Chargers, painted them orange, threw the flag on the top, welded the door shut, stripped the inside, and you'd see it at car shows and out front of grand opening of this or that. And, of course, always the big thing was the horn. You had to have the horn for it to be legit. But again, none of it, like his van, wasn't used on set, wasn't part of anything. Just people went out and said, I want one of those, and had it made.
Right. Well, there's I've seen one of the cars that was for the show because Cooters, you
Yep.
remember Cooters, he has a memorabilia place here in Virginia out towards like 81.
Sperryville, Virginia.
Sperryville, that's right out off Route 81. Yep. I actually not because I was looking to buy a General Lee or anything like that. we were camping down there in the Shenandoah. Glamping, really. We were staying in a cabin. And it was like a 20-minute drive away. So we were like, why not? Let's go check it out. And they had the car out there. And again, you see it and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And they had I think they had Boss Hogg's limo, and they had one of the old, I think it was a Chevy Caprice police cars. That was driven, and he had a bunch of stuff. I mean, it was cool to see some of the things, and they had some other cars from other shows and stuff, and that was kind of neat. But to just go just to see the General Lee, the Dodge Charger with the flag, the battle flag painted on the top, it was just kind of like, okay. there are a lot of rebel flags on T-shirts inside of that joint as well. I mean, everything they had there had big giant Confederate rebel flag on there. So,
yeah. Well, I think he has I don't know if it's his or he licensed it, but in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, there's Cooter's Garage, and there's another General Lee there. I don't think that one was from the TV show. There's very few. My understanding was they used over 300 over the course of the series in all different levels, because obviously there's cars that you want to run and want to do close-ups. Right. And then half the time when they would wreck them, the car was done for. So they would just end up stripping parts. And I think the last I saw, there was maybe 15 true originals left with, certification, provenance, and we know it came from the show. But yeah, to me, it was just mind-boggling that to do a TV show, we're going to need, whether they planned it or had the list, that we need 300 of these Dodge Chargers between this year and there, so it looks kind of close, because we're going to wreck most of them, right?
Yeah, they would just pull it off. I mean, there were times when they just pulled it off the little ramp jump that they had or whatever. They weren't actually driving it. Sometimes they just pulled it, and then it would wreck. Like if they wrecked a car into the creek bed, I think. I want to say that at one point the cop car wrecked into a creek bank. I don't remember.
Many times.
And it wouldn't be an actual running car. They would just have put it together, no engine in it, because they didn't want, and they would you'd have the prop people from behind push it. It would get rolling down that hill, and they would just smash. And then if they had to do another take, they'd pull it out, change the hood, change the fender, whatever it was, push the next one down the hill. That's all they did.
Yeah. I mean, again, you're looking at budgets, you're looking at time and effort. We just need the car to move one way or another. And so, we could just take an empty body, slap some new panels on it, cheap paint job to make it look fresh, and then roll it down the hill. I mean, if you look at some of those jumps, you see how that car comes apart when it on impact, like the frame bends and you see the fenders flare out. So, but 300 cars. Now, I think if I remember right, the one of the ones left, I think it was a pro golfer bought it. And it was known as the number one, like from the original opening scenes.
Is that the one that Bubba Watson had?
Yes, that's who it is. I couldn't remember the golfer, but supposedly he had bought it. That was the last known of where it was.
Okay.
But again, one of those people with money, they want to add it to their collection. He goes out and gets, one of the real ones for, I don't know, maybe he rides around his estate in it. I don't know. But, and that's, going back to the whole story of how things have changed, that movie props and their demand as an alternative investment, or just the will to buy something because it means something to you, changed, is talking back to that gentleman, mid to late 90s. So,
the original, as you said, Lee 1, Bubba Watson bought it at a Barrett Jackson auction in Scottsdale, Arizona in January of 2022, $110,000. I bet he could probably sell it for more than that now.
Absolutely.
I guess.
Right. There's always a collector, especially with cars, it seems.
Oh yeah.
As much as they talk about the next generation, my son, including, have no interest in anything particular about cars, there's still a heavy duty market out there for classic cars with specific historical ties. So it's kind of the poor man's artwork, is what I've heard it been told at one point.
Yeah. So let me ask you this then. We've talked about some of the things, and we started the show with the guitar missing, everything else. Are you surprised to know there have been numerous Indiana Jones fedoras and bullwhips, because they used a lot of them in the various different movies, that have made it to auctions and have sold for, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars, which good for them. That's awesome. Are you surprised would you be surprised if I told you the original arc that was used in the movie shot? Okay, so the one that you see in the movie that the Nazis lifted open and everybody's faces melt. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie. But would you be surprised if I told you that is gone?
Halfway yes, halfway no.
Okay.
Because, you're talking about a Spielberg movie when it was made, so there's a chance that it was going to be something. But again, knowing the little bit I know how things were done back then, if you told me, and it wouldn't surprise me, that the arc was styrofoam painted gold.
Yes. Yep.
Then yeah, I could see it. It got kicked wrong, or after the filming was done, it got damaged. Yeah. So I can see it both ways. That someone didn't go, I'm hanging on to that, or yep, I'm sorry, I kicked the side end, and we'll just trash it. We'll build another for the next one if we need to.
The funny thing is, here's what happened to it. If you remember in the movie, at the end, it ends up in what? Some big government warehouse, right?
Yep.
That's how they end the movie. Well,
the ending scene.
Yeah, this thing ended up in a warehouse in the UK, actually, a movie prop house, I guess it was, in a warehouse. Well, they ended up having to do renovations to the warehouse, and in doing that, this thing, they think, either got taken apart or just tossed. Nobody thought, we should probably keep the arc from Indiana Jones. They just got rid of it. So it's gone to the ether of the world. Was destroyed out there, which maybe that's a good thing for the arc to end up being destroyed.
Wow.
It held so much power, but I was stunned that it didn't end up back here in the States.
Yeah, when you told me it was in the UK, that was like, really? Wait, how did it end up there? But again, prop houses, they change hands. They buy lots of stuff. And when I say lots, I'm talking about, hey, here's an 1800s lot.
Right.
It's 15 pallets. It's got costumes. It's got guns. That's kind of how some of those big prop houses worked. So it could have just been bought as a lot or included in a lot that they got their hands on. But funny, they say art imitates life. So the real arc, we don't know what happened to it. It's been missing. That was the whole point of the movie. And so the one in the movie itself goes missing, and we didn't know what happened to it.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Now, another, I would say, probably iconic prop, another Spielberg movie, oddly enough, Jaws, 1975. They made 3 different styrofoam sharks. 2 of them ended up just not making it through, filming it. They fall apart. They're getting wet, everything else. The one that did for a long time was at Universal Hollywood down in Florida. They decided in 1990, we don't want this anymore. Jaws, it had been 15 years. Jaws kind of wasn't a thing. So whatever. So a guy who owned, I want to say, a scrapyard, basically, place in California, I think, had it for a while. And it was just hung over his scrapyard or whatever as kind of like a ha-ha warning. Don't mess with stuff because we have Jaws here. And then finally, I think the original owner passed away and his son was going to shut down the business and basically called up, I want to say it was maybe Universal, whoever owned the rights at that point to Jaws, and was like, hey, we've got this thing. You want it back? It's just amazing that for years Jaws was just hanging out at this scrapyard. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I think that's just the nature of the time. But, if you would ask me, I would have thought the Jaws on the ride at the studio tour had to be one of the ones used in the movie, and I guess it wasn't. So,
not according to what I read as we were doing, getting ready for this.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and that in itself, I think, was just as famous as the movie, because how many TV shows and things utilize that part of the ride as a part of their show? Like they're on the tour and the Jaws comes out of the water toward the little cart that's carrying the people around. And so I would assume that that was one of the setups or models that they used in the movie. So that's probably why no one cared about the one that was at the junkyard.
right. Right. Well, it was this one. Again, I'm pulling it up because it was the fourth iteration of the shark. They had made other ones, and so this one ended up again going to Universal Studios. Actually, it was Hollywood. It wasn't in Florida. And then it was taken out in 1990 when they, like I said, when they remodeled the park, and it was given to Sam Aldlin, who owned a junkyard in Sun Valley, California, and it was there for more than 25 years, just hanging out. And then finally, they gave it to the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures as a donation, and they redid it, refurbished it, and now it hangs there. So again, for 25 years, it's just out on the street, just like, hey, here's our junkyard or whatever. I mean, that's crazy that the last surviving shark, nobody was like, again, Universal Hollywood was like, we don't need it. We're going to get rid of it. And that's 1990. So like, it wasn't like, it wasn't like the 70s were like, oh, this stuff is garbage, just get rid of it. I mean, by 90, you would think that they'd be like, I don't know, it's pretty iconic. We probably shouldn't give away the last mechanical working shark that we have.
It's what happens when accountants get involved. They start looking at numbers and they don't care, right?
I guess so.
But it's not as iconic, but similar in a way. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Now, see, I disagree. You're talking about Eddie's RV. Yes. I think it is definitely as iconic as Jaws.
I agree. A lot of people wouldn't, but I definitely agree.
Yeah.
It's in, I think, Indiana. Now, my first thought is it at the RV Hall of Fame in Indiana? Because that's where it's at.
Is there an RV Hall of Fame?
There is an RV Hall of Fame in Indiana because a fair amount of the manufacturers are based in Indiana.
That may be, I'm going to write that down. That may be another show that we have to do. Ridiculous Hall of Fames. And the RV one might be right up there.
It's a fantastic place, let me tell you. Stopped in there on a trip. So the RV manufacturers, a lot of them being based in Indiana, built the RV Hall of Fame. But Uncle Eddie's RV is not there.
Okay.
It's called Castle Noel, and it's a year-round Christmas attraction. So they bought it because it's, again, Christmas movie. So they bought it and they've used it as part of an outdoor restaurant, and it's on display. So
that's awesome. That's almost like, isn't it A Christmas Story? Isn't the house in Ohio,
Cleveland, Ohio?
Isn't that a museum now too, where it's like Christmas all the time, or what?
Yeah, they last I knew they turned it into a quasi museum, but Airbnb. You can stay there and do the overnight. Privately owned. They got it.
Okay.
Somehow after the movie, the house was bought and utilized as now, last I knew, Airbnb and quasi daytime museum. So you can stay there if you want, complete with what I'm sure, and I think you said it, not from the movie, but fantastic replica of the leg lamp in the window at night.
Correct, because that leg lamp, which is there are probably some people that are out there when we said what would be the prop that you would want. A lot of people would probably be like, man, wouldn't it be cool to have an original leg lamp from A Christmas Story? None of those survived. There were 3 of them. All of them got broke during the movie. All of them were ceremoniously trashed.
Well, they were fragile.
That's true. They were. You can obviously buy replicas. And I think Amazon one year said, and I forget what calendar year it was, 2020. I don't know if it was last year, whatever, but I read that they had sold enough replica leg lamps that if you stack the legs one by one, they would be as high as Mount Everest. There's your fun fact on the Christmas leg lamp.
I would take a little one. I don't necessarily want one the same size,
it was
one
pretty.
to one.
It's a gigantic leg lamp.
I mean, you got to figure, 24, 30 inches probably. I mean,
Probably,
that'd be a big lamp. It's almost a floor lamp.
Yeah, it was a pretty big lamp. Is there one that would be on your list where you look and say, I'd love to have, it would be cool to have that in your, I mean, again, the easy one is, original lightsaber or a proton pack, of course. But if you had unlimited cash or whatever, is there a car? Is there a prop? Is there a wardrobe thing? I mean, we know that, getting out of the Gen X thing, but we know like Dorothy's red slippers sold for like over $20 million. One of them was stolen and had an FBI hunt for over a decade when they were taken from the Judy Garland Museum. I mean, there are some iconic props. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like you have it in your house and somebody comes by and goes, is that from that movie? Yeah, it is.
Right. It will not excite people.
Okay.
But it means a lot to me because it kind of combines, if you will, the two career paths I had, radio at one point and now emergency medical response now, is I would give anything to have one of the original biophones from the TV show Emergency. So,
wow.
And I've looked into it. There was only 5 original. Randolph Mantooth has one. Another one's in the museum, and the other 3 are unaccounted for. So you can buy replicas. I'm not there yet, but to me, that would be a fantastic piece because it's a radio phone for my radio days, and it's also what I do now. So having that, because I loved the show as a kid. At that point, I had no concept idea that I wanted to even do the job. But I loved the show back then. And so having, watching it then as a kid, seeing them have this orange box with a phone in it, and we're calling the hospital, was just amazing to think of technology wise.
Yeah, I wonder there's only 2 out there. I wonder what they would be valued at now. Like, what would something like that go for these days?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know how. There's only 2. One's in a museum. One's with the guy that was on the show.
I'm back. Sorry.
Yeah,
I froze there. I didn't know if you noticed.
Yeah, I did, but I was going to work my way through it. It's fine.
Okay.
Modern technology, everybody understands. At least we didn't get shut down like all the other rest of the internet did a couple days ago when everything, I guess it was Tuesday when everything was out. But anyway, I wonder, I don't even know how you could put a price on something like that. There's only 2. One's in a museum. So if the guy who has it wants to sell the other one, I mean, is that a 10 grand? Is that a 20 grand thing? I mean, what is it?
Obviously, I think it's going to be lower than a lot of other things, but then this is where it comes back to what does it, what is someone willing to pay for it, right?
Of course.
And so it becomes, what does it mean to the person who wants it? How much are they willing to spend to get it? And will that person sell it for that? Like I said, there might be someone more attuned that can say, oh, a biophone's probably worth 50 grand. I don't know. Because again, limited, it's not as iconic as other things would be for some other people. But to me, it means a lot. And, if I'd won the lottery last night, I'd be willing to shell out some bucks to get one, especially one that was known to have been on the show. So
I'm asking our good friend ChatGPT if it knows how much it would cost. It's a biophone, right? BIO phone.
That's what they called it. BIO phone. Yeah.
Okay. I'm asking, and we'll get the live. The collection is it a biophone 3502? Was that sound right?
Yeah.
All right. It says, was the unit actual screen used with a TV show Emergency or standard field issued? No, I want from the TV show. Come on, ChatGPT. Terrible. Taking so long. I typed in from the TV show. See what it tells me now. There's one in the Smithsonian Institute as part of its collection. So yeah, it says for a claimed show used unit, but not the museum piece, in good condition with decent provenance. And there's only one other one. It says you might reasonably be expected to pay up to $3,000.
Oh, 3? That's it?
Yeah.
That puts it in the realm of possibility now.
I know.
Who knows?
We'd have to get the guy to sell.
Yeah, true.
So let me see. There's one in the museum. Who'd you say the guy that owns the other one?
Randolph Mantooth.
Okay.
He was the dark-haired character on Emergency, if you don't quite remember the show the way the rest of us do.
Yep.
So supposedly he has one that he keeps on a coffee table.
And he's probably going to die soon.
True.
I mean,
I think he's almost 80.
He's got to be. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let me see how old Randolph Mantooth is. He is, according to his wiki, he is 80 this year.
Okay. I knew he was going to be close because you got to figure he was in his 20s and the 70s. So, yeah.
Yeah, he was born in 1945. So he just turned 80.
I'm sure I will be well down the list of people that will contact him to say, hey, is it possible? And not that I'm looking for you to leave this world anytime soon. To be on the list of people who want to claim that, hey, I'll take the biophone, I'll buy it from your estate, etc.
All right, so ChatGPT is arguing with me about whether or not there are two, because I said there's one in the Smithsonian, the other one is owned by Randolph Mantooth, so only two in existence, and it said I can't verify that there are only two, or that Randolph Mantooth personally owns one. It says a screened-use biophone from emergencies in the Smithsonian. The LA County Fire Museum says it also has one of the main artifacts from the show, specifically noting the orange biophone among them. That means there's at least one museum-held unit outside the Smithsonian. It said I can't find an authoritative source that Randolph Mantooth personally owns one.
Okay. So I knew LA County had one, and I always known that Mantooth had one.
Dude,
I didn't know about the Smithsonian.
They don't know. They didn't know.
So that gets us to 3 of the supposed known 5 original.
If 2 of the 3 are in museums, they're not coming up for auction. They're not ever going to head out there. So you still just have the one that you can get to. So maybe it's worth $5,000. Because again, how many people are clamoring for that? I don't know.
A handful, that'd be about it. I mean, also in the same vein, I would love to have Squad 51 because I would ride around that thing all day.
You could probably get a replica of that.
Oh yeah, they're out there. I mean, you can get the utility body. A modern front end would be nice. Like I would take the modern front end with the utility body, paint it red, and ride around in it. Yeah. But that's just me being weird up here in Maine. So
you need power windows and power steering. I don't know. Maybe they had power steering then. I would think maybe, but yeah, you need all of that stuff.
So the question is,
yeah,
what about for you? What is your item?
See, I thought about this and I went kind of the same way where I was like, it'd be cool. Again, you get a lightsaber. That'd be amazing. Although you could probably make your own from original parts just like they did because it's not anything crazy. It's basically a flash component from an old camera is what it is. I mean, that's what the handle is. It's really not as impressive as you would think. But I thought about this and I'm going to go TV show because I loved this TV show. And I looked and there's nobody, I couldn't find any information on this at all. None. That what happened to it or if they had one or whatever it is. I think it'd be cool to have the jukebox from Al's Diner from Happy Days. Because I love that show. Happy Days is one of my favorite sitcoms of all time. I was obviously like everybody else, love the Fonz. Henry Winkler in his days since then just seems to be the nicest guy in the world. Like he's just a gem. I'd love to have something like that where you had like the jukebox that was in Arnold's or Al's Diner or whatever iteration you want to call it. That would be really cool. There was nothing. And I spent probably a good 45 minutes to an hour yesterday trying to find if there was anything about the jukebox. I know the type it is. I know all that stuff. There was nothing that said, oh, it ended up in this prop thing or it was used again on this movie or whatever it was. So that, unlike you, who at least knows that the things exist out there,
yeah,
I don't know outside of being able to buy the same jukebox. I don't know that is a viable, even with millions of dollars. I don't know if I'd be able to find one.
Yeah,
or what was on the show, I should say.
And to me, that's highly surprising. Again, I don't know how many iterations there were because obviously in the original openings, there was the jukebox.
Right.
And then obviously the ongoing thing with Fonzie being able to kickstart it, hitting it just right. So you had to figure there's a few out there, and that next to say Fonzie's jacket had to be an iconic piece of the show that I'm surprised that there is no information to say, oh, it was here, it was there. Even if say, I don't know, it was in I don't remember which studio did it, but it's still in their prop room somewhere and comes out from time to time for other shows.
I mean,
that's surprising to me.
It was 1984 was the last episode of Happy Days. So again, you're in that time frame. We started the show talking about 1985 and the guitar from Back to the Future. That was 1985, and it's gone, and it's way more iconic than the jukebox would be. So I wasn't really surprised that there wasn't any information on it, because it probably, look, let's be honest, it may not even have been real. It may have just been a shell and there was nothing to it. So why would they keep it if they just had the shell of the jukebox?
Yeah. And then that's what we've talked about. They just back then things were made just for the, whatever you want to call it, TV, camera scape. Some things were real, some things weren't, depending on what they needed to do budget wise to get things done. And yeah, it could have been the shell and it got discarded. I'm still surprised there's not any mention though. Like you would think there'd be a slight mention somewhere that ChatGPT or Google would scrape out that got mentioned in an article or something.
Yeah, I mean, just
surprising.
ChatGPT just scraped from Wiki, or the Happy Days Wiki, that said it was a 1952 Seeburg Selectomatic 100, which, okay, you know that, but where is it? Like, what went on with it? Why is it not around? Like, what happened to it? But has nothing, doesn't know. So kind of disappointing, but
lost to the ages, like so many things.
Exactly. I mean, and that's I think with a lot of these props, as you said, now these type of things are not, are not going to be lost to the ether anymore, because people realize, oh, we should hold on to this because it could be an iconic piece from whatever movie. Now, I'm sure there are lower budget movies that still are getting rid of all their props and everything else, but anything big budget that people think are going to be a big deal, like anything from the Tom Cruise, like Mission Impossible, that type of stuff, any of those type of things, I guarantee you that's all being cataloged, everything else. And you can go to a couple of these prop shop type things and they'll auction stuff off, all the time, where you can buy movie props and everything else. Now you're going to pay 5, in some case 6 figures, because the prop shops need to make some money, but stuff does become available at times.
Yeah. Again, I guess it's probably handled per studio, per filmmaking company on what they want to do, not do. Like you said, any of the newer Star Wars through Disney, Marvel Universe, anything big like that, it's going to be hard pressed to find anything out in the public domain that just kind of got out there, unless there was something stolen or underhandedly taken from the set, because they're pretty meticulous now on maintaining everything and accounting for it. And again, for certain, Marvel Universe, depending on how many Iron Mans, they kept stuff because we're going to need it for the next one. They already know chances are this is good, and there's going to be 2, 3, 4, and 5. We need to keep these things because we might need it again.
Very good. Now, so just doing another search real quick on ChatGPT. Now it comes up and it tells me that it is, and it puts in parentheses, reportedly the original jukebox in Happy Days is at the Volo Museum in Volo, Illinois. Now,
They have some other things. There's something about that Volo Museum.
Well, how is Volo, Illinois coming up with this? How do they have it? I'm not buying.
Yeah. Well, their name came up on some other things. I don't have my notes here where I can see it. So maybe that's their thing. If they can get their hands on certain movie memorabilia, they get their hands on it and buy it, right?
I mean, I guess. I mean, it says the museum's own exhibit listing notes that they have coin-operated machines, including rare jukeboxes. Well, this wasn't a rare jukebox. I mean, it's rare if it was the Happy Days one, but as a jukebox itself, that one wasn't a rare model. A travel blog article reports seeing the original jukebox featured in the classic TV series Happy Days on display at the Volo Museum. The museum is known for hosting many other screen-used or pop culture items from TV and films, vehicles, props. So having one is plausible. It says why it's not clearly established, and then it gives you reasons why it may not be the original. So I don't know. I mean, ChatGPT says plausible, but, you still have to dig deeper. So,
yeah,
I don't know. Not buying it.
Yeah, like I said, I saw their name on some other things, so apparently it's a thing for them to acquire.
I don't even know where Volo, Illinois is. What's it near?
I don't know. It feels like a field trip, right? If
that's what I'm
swing out through Indiana to hit the RV Museum Hall of Fame, and
I'm asking,
Cleveland.
Where is Volo, Illinois? It's in Lake County, the northeastern part of the state, roughly halfway between Chicago and Milwaukee. Sounds awful.
Sounds like American nostalgia to me.
I mean, I guess that makes sense that they would have it. I mean, Happy Days was filmed in Milwaukee, so if it's halfway between Milwaukee and Chicago, maybe that makes sense then. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
But but there's always stories of amazing how things end up places. I mean, out there somewhere is the treasure map from Goonies. Because
they think it's probably destroyed.
Probably.
It was tossed.
Yes. And for those, the story was Sean Astin had it, and supposedly his mother inadvertently threw it out. Now, the question is, what does throw out mean? Did it end up at Goodwill? Did it end up in a trash bag? It seems odd to me that it got thrown out like, oh, well, he doesn't need this map from his movie, and we throw it in a trash bag. And so who knows? But it could be out there somewhere, right? We got to have hope.
I mean, look, it could turn up. How many times do we hear about, it seems to happen at least once a year where somebody goes to Goodwill, buys some picture because they're like, oh, that's a cool painting. And then they get it reframed and you open it up and, oh, here's an original of the Constitution or something else. Like, I'm not saying it happens all the time as the Constitution, but it happens all the time where old hidden artifacts are put in paintings, like behind them in things. And if you don't know, it gets passed down. Then finally somebody goes, I don't want this ugly ass painting that my grandmother's had forever. So they give it to the thrift store. And then somebody goes, this is interesting. It could use a new frame. And all of a sudden you find some priceless artifact. It happens all the time, at least once a year.
Yep. It actually, without going into all the details, it happened to a somewhat distant relative.
Okay.
They had been going to this person's house. The person was a client of this relative of mine. And they had always admired this painting that he had in his office. And it was just a portrait of a woman, kind of small, nothing too. And so he gave it to her. Okay, no big deal. So one day she was going over insurance, and the agent's like, well, do you have any rare paintings? And she goes, well, I don't know. I had this painting. I don't know if that counts. He goes, well, it's always better safe than sorry since you don't know anything about it. Get it appraised. Well, I don't even remember the artist. Painted sometime in the early 1700s, and it was a 7-figure estimate on the thing.
Wow.
And again, it was just random. It was, she liked it. The guy said, yeah, you can have it. It doesn't need to be in my office. So I don't even So that tells me he may not even know what he had, right? Somehow it either got passed down, it was in the house, whatever, right? But yeah, it ended up being quite a fortune.
Yeah, I would have been as soon as the estimator said probably 7 figures. I'd be like, you write me that check now. You can keep the painting.
Right, it's yours.
I mean, I say this. I don't want to get too far off of what we're talking about, but I say the same thing all the time. Like, especially baseball cards or just sports cards, whatever it is. The big thing now is, I mean, we all collected when we were little kids, and I still have a bunch of stuff from when I collected and all that kind of thing. The big thing now is getting them graded, professionally graded. You send them off. They tell you, oh, this is a 5 because of the corners or whatever, or this is an 8 or a 10 or whatever it is. My thing is, though, and I'm not going to mention because I don't want them to come after us and get mad. There's a certain company that when you send your card in, you're supposed to declare what you think the value of the card is. Okay. Well, the whole reason you're getting it graded is to find out what the value of the card may be, right? I don't know what the card's worth.
Makes sense.
You're supposed to tell me because you're grading it. But anyway, so they'll now, because cousin just had a card or a couple of cards graded and he got the grades back, they're actually going to charge him a little more money because one of the cards that they graded for him is now worth, in their estimate, more than what he originally put down that the card would be. So he has to pay them a little bit extra money because he put it that it'd be under 500. They say it's over. Whatever.
Wow.
My point is, if I send a card in and I say this thing is worth less than $500 and they come back and say, actually, no, we need you to pay more because we say whatever it is, this card is worth, say, 10 grand. I'm immediately going to say, give me the 10 grand. The card is yours.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're going to tell me it's worth that much, then you have to buy it for that much. Otherwise, you can't tell me it's only worth what somebody's going to pay for it. You can't tell me that it's worth more than X amount of dollars if you're not willing to pay me that money.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that feels a slight bit scammy.
It's very scammy.
We're gonna. I mean, you would think you paid a flat rate for your appraisal, whether it's a $5 card or a $10,000 card. You're paid for your expertise, but to turn it into our expertise now is based on what we perceive the value to be. Seems a little bit scammy, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because basically you pay X amount of dollars up front to insure it for this amount of money. That's basically what it is when you say, oh, I'm declaring the card value is this. So when you send it and you ship it, we actually turned it in at a local card show. So we didn't have to pay for the shipping and stuff. But for them to send it back, they're now saying, oh, well, you've got to pay us more money. Because when we ship it back to you insured, it needs to be insured for that amount of money. I'd be like, okay, well, what's the dollar amount that you think it's worth to insure it? And if they came back and said, well, it's more than $500, this is probably a $2,500 card, I'd be like, keep the card, write me a check. Now you don't have to insure it. It's yours.
Yeah,
and they'd be like, oh, well, we're not in the business of, well, you know what? Just send me my card back. That's all we need to do. You don't need to insure for all this stuff. Anyway, didn't mean to get off on that tangent. But yeah, that's one of those things. Anytime somebody's talking about, oh, you should insure for this much. Should I? Because then if you think it should be insured for that much, maybe you want to give me that much money. And then you can have it. But I know it doesn't work that way. It's risk.
Similar. Yeah. But similar, you see this in sports collectibles because it's a thing now. So you have people showing up with balls and get people to sign it and take pictures, right? To establish provenance and then turn around and sell it.
Absolutely.
The same thing happens, even though it's harder now with movies and television. There are, out west, those scavengers who show up at sets. They're trying to get their hands on anything from scripts to something that was cast off, whatever they can get their hands on that won't be retained by the production company to, again, turn around, resell it. This was used as that, etc. And so that's how some of these things now find their ways into private hands because, there was aggressive people out there looking to get whatever they could from a set, and taking a gamble that it's going to be worth even more because maybe that's the movie that becomes such a big thing.
Right. Well, I know a lot of times there was talks, and this is years ago now. I doubt that it still goes on. Maybe it does. But there was talks of people like scripts would just get printed out and thrown around Hollywood and everything else. And if people didn't like the script or weren't going to use it, they would just do what you would do. It's paper. You just toss it away. You're not shredding it. You're not even necessarily recycling it. You're just tossing it away. And there would be people, like you said, that would dumpster dive and try to find these scripts that the Hollywood folks were throwing out in their trash. And to be able to say, oh, we have an original script that was sent to so-and-so, but it doesn't matter because they ended up doing the movie. But yeah, they used to dumpster dive all the time for those scripts.
And especially because, again, selling your script, it's a game. There's multiple studios, right?
Right.
So what Warner Brothers didn't like and threw in the trash can like you're talking about, maybe Universal said, we're doing it. We're greenlighting this project. So now you've got the script that was over at another studio, but it's in your hands now because they dumped it. But the other studio said, we're going with it. Now you have it, and it obviously has some an original, some value.
Yeah. It's all crazy. It's all. But going back to the Goonies map, I'm going to say that's lost. That's gone.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to show up at a Goodwill or anything like that. The other thing that also did not survive Goonies was the ship. They actually offered up the ship to they're like, is anybody want to take this home? And it was so big and everybody's like, no. So it's gone. The ship that they showed, I guess, at the end is no longer around. Which, again, some of this stuff, it makes sense. Like, if it's just too big to keep anywhere, you got to get rid of it. I think you had sent me a thing about the Love Boat. That it was an actual, obviously they filmed it on an actual cruise ship. But just like anything else, it's like no one's buying the Love Boat to put in a harbor and be like, oh, look, I have the original Love Boat. No, you don't. You have a cruise ship that they used on the Love Boat. It wasn't built specifically for the Love Boat show.
Yeah. No, I mean, if the whole production story on Love Boat, and I always love it, is you have to pay attention how we do these things. So certain shots were shot on one of the Pacific Prince boats, right? Because you would see the ocean, you knew it was real, but everything else was in studio. Right. So they would go in these, excursions to do the exterior, what they call the exterior shots, but everything else was done in studio. So, you couldn't necessarily get on any Princess Cruise and go, oh, this is where they filmed that, or this is
Julie's cabin. Yeah.
Exactly. And then oddly, they still do it today. It seems weird to me, that, a lot of things are filmed different places and they'll just go and do exterior shots to get a New York City background, etc. It's the magic of movie and television production.
Yeah, it is crazy that people, you could actually end up on the ship that they use for the interior shots, or the exterior shots, but you wouldn't necessarily know that that's what was going on. So yeah, it is fascinating that people are like, oh, this is the ship that did this. And you're not sure. You don't know that 100%. So, but it is wild that, again, all these sets, that people go and you see these things, they're just recycled over and over again. And even the layout, as we talked earlier, the sitcom sets, everything else, like you think about Saved by the Bell and how the Max, the restaurant that they went to, how that was kind of laid out and looked. It's very similar to Arnold's or Al's, from Happy Days. Now it had the step down. It's not flat all the way across like Arnold's or whatever you want to say. But the layout and the way they shoot it, it looks a lot like that. That diner. All the diners look basically the same. It's crazy. Now,
I was going to say, that's just the nature of production, right? We know we design it this way because we need camera angles, we need lighting angles, and it takes shadows out, and there's a whole science to it. So there becomes the basics of, if you're going to do a living room, if you're going to do a kitchen, if you're going to do the restaurant, this is how it's set up, and we don't, stray too far from the formula, if you will.
Right. It is interesting though when you see all that stuff, and we've talked about like getting the movie props or TV props. I mean, I think a lot of people, and I was talking to my fiance and some other people, like just kind of going, hey, this is what we're going to do in the show today. I was amazed because I thought for sure somebody would come up with this. Nobody said, oh, it'd be cool to have the couch from Central Perk from Friends. I thought for sure that, like, I'm making a list mentally in my head. I'm like, I guarantee you it's going to be somebody's going to say the couch from Central Perk. Because I was like, my whole thing was I couched it as you can have something, but it has to fit within your house. You have to be able to, it has to be something that you would use on a regular base, like a regular basis. Like I said, the jukebox for me, because I was like, I use on a regular basis. Again, being in radio and having all that kind of stuff, that would be something cool. I was stunned that didn't come up at all. I thought for sure that would be there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would have thought any of that furniture, primarily the couch, secondarily the 2 side chairs, would have been of some value or want or need from someone. Because the only thing I saw about Friends when I was trying to look it up was, I guess there was a Magna Doodle in Chandler and Joey's apartment.
Okay.
And that is now owned by one of the studio techs. It was gifted to him by the guy who played Joey. But yeah, I didn't see anything else that popped up that said, oh yeah, the Friends couch is here, or someone so-and-so took it. All I saw was this Magna Doodle that was hanging in the apartment somewhere ended up with one of the set workers. So
yeah, it's a good way to kind of wrap it up, because Michael J. Fox, again, we started talking about him and the guitar, talking in his book about family ties. And he said the only thing, because he was lamenting the fact that he didn't keep the guitar, because again, it would be hundreds of thousands of dollars now. But he said the only thing that he took from Family Ties, and I had to go back and look at some of the shows to see it, was I guess there was some sort of whale that hung above the kitchen sink of the home there on Family Ties. And he said that was the only thing. He's like, it's not worth anything. It's not like, it wasn't a big deal. He's like, I just wanted that. He goes, I saw it all the time. I just wanted it. So he owns that. He said everything else, he's never taken anything from the set of Family Ties. I was surprised that, like, I guess there's things when you've worked on the show or whatever, and you see it every single day, all the time when you're in the work, and you're like, I'd like to take that home with me. But he said that was the only thing that he had from Family Ties. So,
well, I mean, similar, Fonzie Happy Days, evidently on the back wall where you come, for the Arnold shots, that they had a shelf where they'd set their mugs, water bottle, whatever, and then they would, make their entrance into the scene. That was one of the things that Henry Winkler kept, because
that's cool.
It was always there. People wrote stuff on it, and that was one of the, again, no value to most people, but it meant a lot to him, and he kept that shelf after, they were done with the production.
The only thing that I have, and it's not even close to anything like that, the only thing that I even remotely would have in that regard is a few years ago, Eagle Bank Arena, where George Mason plays, had a new scoreboard put in, and it's all digital now. I don't know if you'll remember this or not, but the old scoreboard that was in there, when you had different teams come in, it was plastic, and you just they'd lower it down. You'd have to pull out the plastic thing and then put in whoever they were having to play, and they would change it out that way. And so I have from that scoreboard the plastic slide from one of the 4 sides, because there were 4 of them, that just says Patriots on it. So I have that's, but again, it's not worth anything to anybody, but it's cool to me because I'm like, that's from the original scoreboard that started at Eagle Bank Arena. Then it was the Patriot Center. Back in 1986, it had been used for a couple of decades before we got the new one. And now we have, they have the new one. It's all electronic digital, so they don't need these slides anymore. There was that. Somebody else had grabbed a couple. I mean, they were just lying around. And I was like, can I have one of those? They're like, yeah, we're just going to throw them out. I'm like, well, I'll take it. So there were a bunch of the ones that said Patriots just sitting in like the athletic office, like communications office for months, just in a corner that they hadn't thrown out. So finally, that's why I was like, I like to have one of those, and please take it. I was like, perfect. I should have taken all of them, but I didn't think about it. Tom, I just want one. I didn't want to be greedy. I didn't want to be greedy.
but a perfect example of how certain things just end up out in the public domain because
right,
whoever's in charge, whoever is keeping track of it says, yeah, we're going to throw it out. It's yours. Take it. Have Jaws. It's styrofoam. We're not going to use him.
Right.
So have at it. Hang him up at your junkyard. So
right. Yeah, it is incredible how this stuff. So again, we'll tie it up with, if you know where that Gibson guitar is that Michael J. Fox and Huey Lewis and Christopher Lloyd and all of them are looking for, by all means, get in touch because it's probably going to be worth your while. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's pretty amazing. All right, Gary, do you have any parting words before we call it a day here?
It's all movie magic. So
it is all movie magic. That is true. And I will quote from the great Doc Brown, your future is whatever you make it, so make it a good one.
This concludes this episode of Gen X Men with Bill Rowland and Gary Dollarhite. Gen X Men is now off the air.